In this short video, I'm going to explain the toolbar of the Smart Notebook software. The toolbar is located at the very top of the notebook software itself. You're also going to notice some images on the left-hand side. Those will be discussed at a later time. Right now, we're just going to cover the top of the toolbar and the different functions of the little icons at the top. The first one that we're going to talk about is the added page to your creation. If you click the page with a green plus sign, you can see that it's inserting new pages into my lesson that I'm creating in the notebook software. The next one over is actually if you want to open a file up, you can do the same thing by clicking File and Open. It's just a shortcut. Same thing with the Save, which is this little disk-looking object. You can do the same thing by clicking File and Save. Again, these are just shortcuts to get you to File, Open, and Save a little bit quicker. The next one, if you've copied something, maybe you're in Word and you copy something, you want to paste it in here. This is just a shortcut for paste. Again, you can do edit, paste as well, but again, this is just a shortcut. The next three icons are the undo, redo, and delete. So if I was to write something in here, what I can do if I want to get rid of that, I can click this back arrow, which is undo. If I change my mind, I can click redo and it'll add it back. If I want to get rid of it altogether, I can use the red X, which will delete it. The next little icon is a screen shade. Essentially what that does is it creates a shade much like a piece of paper on your overhead. So if I wrote a letter and I didn't want, or if whatever I'm displaying on the screen, if I don't want my students to see, I can put a screen shade over it. So now I can treat it like a piece of paper and pull it down and allow the students to see only the parts that I want to expose. Wherever the little bubble is, that is where you can drag it from. So I can drag it left to right, top to bottom. To eliminate it, I push the red X. Again, that's the screen shade. In PowerPoint, you have a view slideshow little icon that you can click on. Essentially, this is the same exact thing. This little computer screen takes you from the present or from the creation mode to presentation mode. So by clicking on this, you can see now I don't have my slides on the left-hand side. I just have what page I was on displayed full screen. To get back to the creation view, I need to click the same button that I just clicked. The next one is it will allow you to have a transparent background. So if I click on it, you can see now it's on my desktop. To get back to my main screen, again, I'm going to click on the exit the transparency background. The nice feature about the Smart Notebook software is you can actually display two different pages at one time. With this, you can see that there's a little icon like a computer screen, but it'll actually, if you hover over it, it'll say dual single page display. Right now, it's so that it's only displaying one page. To switch so that it'll display two pages, I'll click on this little icon. You can see now that I have two slides. And I'll add some stuff to the other slides so that you can see that if I put it in presentation mode, you can see now I have two different slides being displayed. So if I go through my different slides, you can see that it'll display two slides at one time. Now to exit out of this, I just click that screen again to go back to one page. So this will toggle in between two pages and one page being displayed. The next two icons we're going to talk further about at a different time. It'll take a little bit of in-depth exploration with these two, so we're going to talk about those at a later time. The next icon is an insert table. Again, you can do the same thing from this menu, insert table. With this, what you can do, just like in Word, is you can choose how many cells you would like. It'll put the image in here for you. To select the whole Graphify, you can see now if I click on it, it doesn't let me select the graph. If I want to select the table, what I need to do is drag a box over it, and you can see I get a little square here that now I can drag it around my screen. I can enlarge it. I can make it smaller. The only thing is I can't resize the cells by clicking on this little gray bubble. What I actually have to do if I want to make the cells bigger is click on the line, and as I drag it, it'll change red. And once I let go, it'll enlarge the cell. So to make the cells bigger, I actually have to physically go move each one to make it bigger. Again, if I want to move it, I need to drag and select it, and then I use this little box to move it around. To make it smaller or bigger, again, I can use the gray circle in the bottom right-hand corner. To get rid of it, I can use this drop-down arrow, and you can see I have a lot of different options here. I can use delete here to get rid of it. I can also use the delete on my keyboard to get rid of this chart. The next two icons are for the assessment software. That'll be covered in a later lesson. One of the things you're going to use quite a bit is changing to an arrow, as well as changing to pens. For my arrow, that allows me to select objects or click on objects. The pens let me write. By clicking on the pen, I can choose a certain color that I want to use. I can choose maybe a highlighter if I want to highlight something, or use a thicker marker if I want striped lines. And again, these are all customizable, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But with the pens, changing back into the pen and arrow, the arrow I need to be able to use to select it. If I want to write, I can use the pen. Now you also have some other types of pens here. You have creative pens, which will let you draw some fun, interesting little designs. Next thing you have is an eraser. The eraser will allow you to erase. Now if you click on it, you have 3 different sizes. So if you need to erase the whole page, you can change it to a large eraser. Obviously, if you want to erase something small, you can use a small eraser. The next one is the line tool. By clicking on which line you want to use, and if you click and hold and drag, then you can create a line in any direction that you want. And again, you have some options here. You can do some different types of lines, as well as different colors, some arcs, whatever you want to choose to use. The next one is the shape tool. You have a bunch of different shapes to do this. Click on the shape that you want to use. Click and hold down the mouse and drag, and that'll make your shape in whatever direction you want to drag it. But make sure once you let go is the size of the shape that you're going to have. There's a whole bunch of different shapes. If you go clear to the right, you have a little tiny arrow that'll actually let you scroll to the right and find a few more shapes that are hidden. Again, that was the shape tool. You have a shape recognition tool that if you draw a shape, it'll actually recognize it. Now the trick is that you actually have to connect it. I know you don't actually. So some of the times what I've had happen with students is the shape that they draw, because they don't draw the lines correct, sometimes it will not recognize the correct shape. So sometimes if they're trying to draw a square, sometimes it actually will use a triangle instead. But again, that's the shape recognition tool. With the next pen that has little purple stars, it's the magic pen. It's magic because whatever you write, it actually is invisible ink, so that the ink will actually disappear after you write for a little bit. There's actually 2 other features with this invisible pen. What I can do is I can make a rectangle, and by making a rectangle and connecting it, it'll make it into a magnifying glass. I can move this magnifying glass around the screen by clicking on the edge of it. Also, if I click in the middle and move side to side, it'll make it bigger or smaller. So again, that's a magnifying glass. The other feature with this magic pen is by making a circle, I can highlight a certain spot on the screen. Again, by clicking on the edge, I can drag it around my screen and highlight a certain spot on the screen. To make it bigger or smaller, go side to side in the middle. The next few tools, one of which is a paint bucket. We'll talk about that one, but I want to talk about the letter here. This is how you can insert text. So if you want to insert a text box, I'll add another slide here. To insert a text box, I can choose what color and what size. If I choose a black or blue, you can actually change the color as well, so don't think that those are the only 2 colors you can use. Drag, much like you would inserting a text box into a Word document. Click and drag the box the size that you would like. Now I can start typing on my keyboard. Once I have what I would like, I can change back to an arrow. Now I can move this word that I typed to wherever I'd like. If I want to customize it, double click it. I can highlight it. I can change the font now. I can change the size of it. I can bold, italicize, underline. I can change the color of it here if I don't like the color and I want some more options. Again, basically just like in Word, you can customize the font in the Smart Notebook software as well. Another thing that I can do, if I actually click on it, I can use this gray circle to enlarge it or make it smaller, as well as I can use the green circle to rotate it around and make it different angles. With the drop down arrow again to get rid of it, you can choose to delete it. One thing that a lot of people might like is the clone. If I want that exact copy, rather than doing copy and paste, I can actually click clone and it'll make the exact replica of what I just did. So that's clone. With the last couple, the paint bucket and then another icon, the properties icon, those allow you to really customize a lot of the things that you're going to use in your lesson that you're creating. You can see the properties icon over here is also located over here on the left-hand side. With that, if you click on it, you can see that I have some options: fill effects, line style, text style, object animation, and page recording. For this, fill effects will work on shapes. So for example, if I wanted to make a shape and I wanted it to be filled in, again, using this properties button over here, if I click on my shape and use fill effects, I can now choose to fill it solid. I can do a gradient fill, which will allow me to do two different colors. I can do a pattern, which will allow me to choose a certain type of a pattern to put in there. Or if I have an image that I want to locate and put inside of that object, I can do that as well. If I use a solid fill, I can change the transparency so that it is see-through, so that if I hover it over different objects, it can highlight it if you would like. With this properties tool, again, you can customize shapes, you can customize the font, you can change the different color font here as well. The text style you can change here as well. Object animation is kind of like your transitions in PowerPoint. If I want this word that I created to come into the screen when it's clicked, I can choose fade in, and then when the object is clicked, it'll occur. So if you choose fade in, the speed is normal. Have it be that when the object is clicked, it'll fade in. You can see now that if I click on the word, it'll actually fade in. Again, this is just the properties button. Your best bet is just to start playing around with it a little bit to see exactly what you can do as far as if you can change shapes, if you can change text. Really allows you to customize your lesson the way that you would like. So again, that's just a very basic overview of a lot of the toolbar icons that are at the top of the screen. This icon strip, or the strip that has all the icons on it, you can actually have it down at the bottom. If you click on this little arrow at the right hand side, you have an up and down arrow that'll toggle the toolbar from the top to the bottom. So if you click on that, it'll send it directly down to the bottom. To get it back to the top again, I click on that arrow at the right, and then click on the double arrow to toggle it back up to the top. So again, this was just a short video exploring the ways to use the different icons at the top of the toolbar on the Smart Notebook software.